Spring break season, a time when many college students flock to places like South Padre Island and Daytona Beach. We all know that they don't gather to expand their academic horizons or improve the world through their collective efforts. Ron Morse found a group of college students from the University of Texas at Arlington who gave up the carefree atmosphere of a crowded beach town to do something some people, including these students, might simply call crazy.
The Long March. How long? More than 130 miles. These UT at Arlington ROTC cadets marched from their campus to Fort Hood.
I started out saying I was going to have to break my leg to get in that van. I was not going to take a break.
50 years ago, 14 UTA cadets marched to Fort Hood to report for summer camp.
Of course, the Long March is a very good indicator of a unit's and organization's inner fortitude and its fitness. So we conceived the idea of having a march.
So 50 years later, they hit the open roads of Central Texas on a 5-day trip to honor the history of their cadet corps.
I mean, some of these days have been especially hard because it's been hot, it's been cold, it's been a little rainy, but but for the most part, most people wouldn't agree with me, but it's been fun.
Forward they marched and marched and kept on marching.
People getting sunburned. Yeah, you start walking slower, start thinking, man, this hurts so much. But after a while, eventually your body just goes numb. You just can't feel it. All you're doing is putting one foot in front of the other. I think the hardest part is actually stopping and taking a break, because as soon as you start going, for the first mile and a half, it all hurts again.
There was a point whenever I knew I was hurting, but there was never a point where I was like, oh, I can't do this. It's really big mind over matter, and so I never went that route.
Thanks, sir. One thing that we do not want to think of, and we almost get upset when we hear is anything concerning mileage or numbers. We're just like, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. Like, we just want to keep marching.
Their boots finally carried them to Fort Hood.
I think it's just going to be an overwhelming bunch of emotion, and I hope it's going to be great.
They entered Fort Hood in cadence.
Good sense of accomplishment, and I felt like it was great to be able to honor the men who did this before us.
Keep going, you're almost there.
The cadets received Stetsons for the commemorative march.
Actually, you can't help but be very appreciative, but it really is, the benefit of it all will be to them. They will never forget it, and I hope they never give up on keeping themselves in that kind of condition.
Major General Latham is 82, and he marched the first 24 miles of this trip.
To a lot of cadets, they would be saying to me, well, if he's still marching, I'm still marching.
Summer camp is now held at Fort Lewis in Tacoma, Washington, and I think the cadets are hoping the General doesn't get any ideas about that march.
All out.
From Fort Hood, Texas, I'm Ron Morse, 3 Corps Public Affairs.